Today, we're really plunging into some insightful stuff looking at this core question.
Mm.
When you're trying to achieve something big, what actually gets you there? Is it motivation? Or is it maybe something else, something like discipline?
Exactly. We've got these great sources, articles, and notes exploring just that. Which one is really key for success, especially when it's a tough journey, like, say, getting fluent in English?
Right. So our mission really is to unpack the ideas from these sources. We want to get into the nitty-gritty differences between motivation and discipline.
And more importantly, figure out how you can actually use these ideas. How to make real, steady progress towards your goals, even on those days, and we all have them, where you just don't feel like it at all.
Totally. Let's start right there. Have you ever just felt completely drained, zero desire to do something important, maybe studying or hitting the gym or even working on a project you care about, and you just kind of wait, hoping you'll magically start to feel ready?
Yeah, waiting for the feeling.
If that sounds familiar, then this deep dive into the material is definitely for you.
So the sources we looked at, they start by trying to define that initial spark, motivation. They basically describe it as the feeling that makes you want to do something.
That internal push, right?
Exactly. You feel excited, you've got energy, you're just, ready to go.
And it feels amazing, like you're on top of the world in that moment. The material gives some really good examples of when this kicks in. Maybe you see someone speaking English flawlessly and think, wow, yes, I want that. I'm going to study like crazy.
Or you watch an inspiring video, or you get some good news, even just starting something new, like a new school year or, New Year's resolutions.
Oh, yeah.
The sources even mention tiny things, like buying a fresh notebook for your studies can give you that little jolt of excitement.
You know that feeling. You write, day one, all neat and tidy, ready to conquer everything. But here's the really crucial point these sources keep making. Motivation.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't stick around.
It's fleeting because it's tied to feelings, right?
Yeah.
And feelings, well, they change constantly. 1 minute you're up, the next you're down.
That's the big limitation. The material really flags. I use this analogy. Motivation is like a spark.
A spark, yeah.
It's great for starting a fire. You absolutely need it for ignition. But a spark alone won't keep that fire burning long term. It just flares up and then PFFT.
Take home.
Gone. Intense 1 minute, vanish the next.
And look, the sources aren't saying motivation is bad. Not at all. It's super helpful for getting you off the ground. Makes things feel fun at the start.
Definitely useful then.
But the hard truth, according to all this material, is you just cannot rely on it showing up every day to do the real work needed for long-term results. If you sit around waiting for that feeling...
You could be waiting forever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the other force, the one that does provide that steady burn discipline.
Right. And the material defines discipline pretty simply. It's basically doing what you need to do, even when you really, really don't feel like it.
It's all about consistency, taking action again and again, no matter what's going on inside your head.
And the contrast with motivation is immediate and sharp, isn't it? Discipline just doesn't care if you're feeling happy, sad, tired, whatever.
Nope. It's focused purely on the plan, doing what's necessary for your goal, even if it feels boring or hard right then. It's action over emotion.
The sources kind of describe it like a quiet friend.
Yeah, a dependable one, always there, keeping you on track. And crucially, it's not something you're just born with. Discipline is built. It's a skill.
It grows slowly, right? Little by little with practice.
Exactly. The analogy they use, which I think is really helpful, is that discipline is like a muscle.
Oh, okay.
The more you exercise it, even with tiny actions, the stronger that muscle gets over time.
They give some great everyday examples, too, like dragging yourself out of a warm bed when you're still sleepy.
That's the discipline muscle working, or going for that run when it's cold and raining.
Definitely discipline.
Or, consciously putting your phone away, turning off notifications so you can actually focus on studying English for 20 minutes.
That takes effort. Choosing study over zoning out with TV.
Pure discipline. And these aren't huge, dramatic things usually, but the sources really stress that these small, consistent choices, they add up. They have enormous power over time.
And that's its real strength, isn't it? It's about building habits, training your brain to just follow the plan, whatever your mood.
You don't need to wait to feel ready. You just do it because it's on the plan. You trust that these small, regular steps are the actual path to the big results. Much more reliable than waiting for inspiration.
Regularity over intensity. That's a key takeaway.
Yeah, and here's a really interesting kind of counterintuitive idea from the sources. Discipline actually brings you freedom.
Freedom, how so?
Well, freedom from being jerked around by your moods, right? Freedom from putting things off. It gives you control, builds self-reliance, pride, confidence, because you prove to yourself you can act even when you don't feel like it.
That makes a lot of sense. So back to the analogy. Motivation's the spark, gets things started.
But discipline is the fuel, the steady supply that keeps the fire burning day in, day out. And the material is really clear on this. Discipline builds habits, and it's habits, not feelings, that lead to success.
Okay, so let's really hammer down this difference. Why is relying only on motivation just not enough, according to these sources?
Well, the core distinction they draw is crystal clear. Motivation is all about feelings. Discipline is all about actions.
Feelings versus actions, got it.
Think about the gym example they use. It makes it really obvious. Motivation is when you wake up, you feel energetic, maybe you saw an inspiring fitness post, and you actually want to go to the gym.
Right. You go because it feels good right then.
That's motivation driving the bus. But discipline, that's the cold, rainy Tuesday morning. You slept badly, you feel sluggish. The last thing on earth you want is to go lift weights.
Been there.
But you go anyway, not because you feel like it, but because it's on your schedule. It's part of the plan for your long-term health. That's pure discipline.
And applying that to learning English. Motivation is maybe after watching a great movie thinking, I want to understand everything. You get that buzz, download 5 apps.
Study like math for 2 days straight. That's the motivation hit.
But discipline. That's when you're tired after a long day, life feels distracting. Opening that textbook seems like climbing Mount Everest. Your brain's screaming, just relax.
Mm-hmm.
But you choose to sit down for just 20 minutes. Maybe review some vocab, listen to a short podcast episode. Not because you're inspired, but because you committed to daily practice. That's the discipline.
Yeah, the analogy of friends works well, too. Motivation is like that fun, exciting friend who's great when they show up, but might cancel if they're not in the mood.
Unreliable.
Whereas discipline is the steady best friend, always there, rain or shine, ready to help you keep moving forward.
And that's exactly why depending solely on motivation often leads to, well, failure. It's just too flaky, isn't it?
It's like the weather, the sources say, always changing. If you only act when you feel perfectly motivated, you'll either never really start, or you'll constantly be starting and stopping. You lose all momentum.
Right. Progress becomes impossible.
There's this story in the material about someone named Lena. It really illustrates this. She was super excited to learn English, started off with tons of motivation, downloaded apps, studied for hours the first week. Felt great.
Sounds familiar.
But then, life happened. She got busy, tired, the novelty wore off, motivation faded, and the sources say she just didn't feel like studying anymore.
So she waited.
Yeah, she waited to feel ready again. But that strong feeling didn't really come back, so eventually she just stopped, felt discouraged, lost confidence.
And the key takeaway from her story.
Her problem wasn't ability, it was relying only on motivation. When that feeling vanished, she had no system, no habit, no discipline to keep her going through the dip. Nothing to fall back on.
Ouch. That's a tough lesson.
It really highlights what the material emphasizes. Motivation is fantastic for the launch, gets you going. But it just doesn't have the stamina for the whole marathon.
So many dreams probably die right there when the excitement wears off.
Exactly. The real issue isn't usually the feeling, it's the lack of a reliable system, those daily habits, and the discipline to just do them.
There's another analogy they use. Motivation is like an ocean wave.
Yeah, rises high, crashes down, always shifting. Discipline, though, is like a sturdy boat. The boat stays steady. It keeps you moving forward, whether the waves are huge or the water's totally flat. If you just wait for the wave, you're stuck on the beach.
But if you build the boat of discipline,
you're actually going somewhere every single day.
Okay, so the synthesis here seems pretty clear. Mm-hmm. Successful people aren't always motivated. They just act anyway.
Pretty much. They've built the skill of taking action consistently, even on the bad days, the boring days, the uninspired days. They trust that all those small, disciplined efforts add up over time. Success isn't one big, motivated push. It's the sum of countless small, disciplined actions.
Okay, so discipline is the engine. But the sources also say something powerful. Motivation and discipline aren't enemies. They're actually a team.
A perfect team, they argue. Not fighting each other, but working together. The analogy here is they're like your 2 legs.
Okay, 2 legs.
You need both to walk properly, right? For balance, power, forward motion.
That makes total sense. So motivation gives you the initial push, the let's go.
Exactly. The spark, the dream, the vision. Let's start this. And discipline is the steady fuel, the consistent action, the day-to-day grind that says, okay, excitement's lower now, but we keep going one step at a time.
Keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. And there's another story about Fatima that shows this partnership really well. She was super motivated to learn English, started intensely.
Like Lena.
Right. But the difference was when life got busy and motivation dipped, Fatima had also set up a simple, consistent plan. Just 20 minutes of English study every day, no matter what.
So she had the boat.
She had the boat.
Yeah.
When the feeling faded, her discipline kicked in. She stuck to that small, manageable daily task.
And what happened?
Well, this is the cool part. That consistent action, driven by discipline, started producing results. She began understanding more, speaking became a bit easier, and guess what those results did?
Brought back the motivation.
Exactly. It created this positive feedback loop. Action leads to results. Results create fresh motivation. Seeing progress naturally makes you want to keep going.
Wow, so they actually feed each other.
It's a powerful cycle. Motivation starts the fire, discipline keeps it burning steadily, and that steady fire, fueled by discipline and stoked by results, becomes this strong, lasting thing that lights your way.
And the message is, this isn't for special people. Anyone can do this.
That's what the sources strongly suggest. You don't need superhuman willpower. If you miss a day, you stumble, that's okay. It's normal. The key is just getting back to it the next day. Progress over perfection. Always.
So, summing up their combined power, motivation gives you the why, the reason.
And discipline gives you the how, the routine, the ability to act day after day, no matter how you feel. Motivation paints the big picture, the destination.
And discipline helps you take each small step to get there. Together. Unstoppable.
Pretty much.
Okay, so if discipline is this crucial muscle, the really practical question then is, how do we actually build it? Sources say it's learned, right? Like English itself.
Exactly. It takes time, practice, patience, but anyone can develop it step by step. And the sources give some really simple, practical steps. First thing, make a simple plan. Doesn't have to be complicated. Just write down your goal and the small daily actions that move you towards it. Like study vocab 15 minutes at 7 a.m. or listen to one English podcast on commute.
So you know what disciplined action to take.
Precisely. It gives you direction. And linked to that, they strongly advise starting really small.
Don't try to boil the ocean on day one.
Exactly. No 2-hour study sessions right away. That leads to burnout. Start with something almost ridiculously easy, like learn 3 new words, write 1 sentence, listen for 5 minutes.
Why so small?
Because consistency is king, especially at first. Small actions done daily are incredibly powerful for building the habit, strengthening that discipline muscle without overwhelming yourself.
Okay, simple plan, start small. What's next?
Consistency itself. Treat it like brushing your teeth, something you just do every day. Ideally, same time, same trigger.
Creates a routine for the brain.
Yeah, your brain adapts. It becomes less effortful, more automatic. Discipline thrives on regularity.
Makes sense. And I mentioned distractions.
Oh yeah, crucial point. Remove them. When it's time for your planned action, phone on silent, maybe in another room, notifications off. Find a quiet spot if you can.
Makes the task easier.
Less daunting, definitely. Helps you focus, makes the action more effective, which feels good, which reinforces the habit. It all connects.
What about tracking? Does that help?
Hugely, according to the sources. Mark an X on a calendar, use a simple app. Seeing that chain of X's builds visible proof you're doing it.
Creates momentum.
And pride. You see how far you've come. Checking that box is like a mini reward, fuels your motivation to keep the chain going.
Okay, so tracking helps. And what about being kind to yourself? Discipline sounds kind of harsh.
That's a great point, and the sources address it. Discipline isn't just about being tough. It's also about being kind. They recommend rewarding yourself.
Like a treat.
Yeah. After you do your disciplined action, do something nice. Listen to a favorite song, have that coffee, watch a funny clip. Connect the task with a good feeling. Makes it easier to come back to tomorrow.
Trains your brain to like it almost.
Sort of, yeah. And the final piece, maybe the most important, patience and self-forgiveness.
Because you will miss days.
Absolutely. Life intervenes. You'll be tired, you'll forget, you'll make another choice. Don't see it as failing. It's just a missed day.
The real test is getting back.
That's the essence of true discipline, the sources say. Not never falling, but getting back up, starting again the next day. That act of coming back is what truly builds resilience and strengthens that discipline muscle for the long run.
So let's put it all together for English learning. Simple plan. Learn 5 new words, 10 minutes each morning. Start small. Just those 5 words. Consistent every morning, like clockwork.
Remove distractions, phone away for 10 minutes, track it, X on the calendar, reward, enjoy that first coffee right after.
And if you miss a morning,
don't beat yourself up, just do it the next morning. That simple, consistent process, built step by step, brings the results, builds the pride, and makes learning a solid habit.
it really is like that muscle analogy. Hard at first.
Uncomfortable, maybe, but with practice, it gets easier. Less struggle, more natural, maybe even energizing. And ultimately, building that discipline gives you huge confidence. You know you can count on yourself to act.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just quickly circle back to the main message from all this material.
It seems to be that while motivation is good, it has its place. Discipline is really the heavyweight champion for long-term success.
Yeah, much more critical when the going gets tough.
Motivation's the spark, gets you started, gives you the why.
But discipline is the fuel. Keeps you going through thick and thin, day after day, even when that spark feels miles away.
It carries you towards the goal.
And the sources leave us with a really direct call to action, don't they?
They really do, basically. Don't wait for motivation to magically appear. Don't wait until you feel like it.
Start today.
Right now. With one small, simple step. Open the app for 10 minutes. Write one sentence. Review 3 words. Anything.
The size doesn't matter as much as the act itself.
Exactly. Taking that step, regardless of how you feel, that's what starts building the muscle.
Because discipline isn't built overnight. It's forged in those small, consistent choices, day after day.
They stacked up, they build strength, they build momentum, and they reliably carry you forward.
Which brings us to that final thought the material leaves us with for you to maybe chew on.
Yeah, it's this idea that success isn't really about waiting for the right moment or the perfect feeling of inspiration.
It's more about making the right choices consistently, every single day, even and especially when you don't feel like it.
So maybe think about that. What's one small right choice you can make today, right now? Something to start building or strengthening that discipline muscle, taking one tiny step closer to your goal, no matter how motivated or unmotivated you feel in this exact moment.